So now we're going to find the values of the inverse of a trigonometric function. So number one, sine to the negative 1 of square root of 2 over 2. This could also be equal to sine to the negative 1. It could be also equal to arc sine of square root of 2 over 2. Ibig sabihin yan, this is sine to the negative 1 or in the inverse. So how are you going to identify? So in this one, if it is the inverse, sine to the negative 1 of square root of 2 over 2, ibig sabihin, you're going to look for the angle na ang value ng trigonometric function is square root of 2 over 2. For example, so this one, for example number 1, the value is square root of 2 over 2. So dito sa sine, if you have this table, you're going to look for square root of 2 over 2 aligned to sine. So in sine, it's square root of 2 over 2 dito siya. So it's square root of 4. So the answer is square root of 4. So that's the answer. Square root of 4. So next, for cosine of negative 1, there could be other answers. So it could also be 3 pi over 4. 3 pi over 4. So for cosine of negative 1, so cosine of negative 1, the answer is, so you're going to look for negative 1 there. So negative 1, so saan was ang cosine? Saan ng negative 1? Here is negative 1. So it's in pi. So it's pi. So the cosine negative 1 of 1, or the arc sine of 1 is pi. So pi. Next, tan to the negative 1 of negative 1, or arc tan of negative 1. So sa tangent, we're going to look for negative 1. Here it is. So it's in 3 pi over 4. So 3 pi over 4. So next, cotangent of the tangent negative 1 of square root of 3 over 3, or arctan of square root of 3 over 3. So tangent square root of 3 over 3, it's in pi over 3. So that's how easy it is. Next, second to the negative 1 of square root of 2. Second square root of 2, it's pi over 4. So pi over 4. Next, cosecant negative 1, cosecant of negative 1 of square root 2 square root of 3 over 3. That's in this one, cosecant, that's in pi over 3. So pi over 3. So that's the answer. So this one, we're going to use the calculator. You could not use this table because some of the values in here are not found on the table. So that's why you're going to use the calculator. If you solve it in the calculator, if you're going to look at the calculator, there is sine to the negative 1 in here. So it's easy because all you have to do is shift sine to sine. So it became sine to the negative 1, or arc sine of 1/3. That's 19.47. 19.47 is in degree. So we're going to, if you're going to change it to radian, so radian, it's what you're going to do is multiply this by pi, or 3.14, or to make it more exact, pi, and then divide it by 180. So in radian, it's 0.34. So that's in radian. So this is on radian. Next, cosine to the negative 1 of 2 over 5. 2 over 5, that's 66.42. This is on degree. And if in radian, is multiply this by pi, divide by 180, that's 1.16. That's 1.16. Next, tan to the negative 1, or arctan of 50, that's 88.85. 85. Or if multiply this by pi, then divide by 180, that's 1.55. Next, cosecant negative 1 of 12 over 5. So if you're going to take a look in here, there's no cosecant. So what are you going to do if there is no cosecant? So we know that the reciprocal of cosecant is sine. So we're going to use sine. And because it is reciprocal, what you're going to do is you're going to get the reciprocal of 12 over 5. So instead of writing 12 over 5, you're going to type the 5 over 12. So 5 over 12 is 24.62, or in radian, that's multiplied by pi. No, sorry. The answer is, so that's still multiply by pi, then divide by 180, that's 0.43 in radian. So second, it's the reciprocal is cosine. So cosine, because it's a reciprocal, you use cosine. So you're going to get the reciprocal of this one. It will become negative 8 over 40. So it's 101.54, or in radian, multiply by pi, divide by 180, that's 1.77. Next, because there is no cotangent in here, so what you're going to use is tangent, because it's the reciprocal of cotangent is tangent, and then invert this, it will become 3 over 2. It's equal to 56.31, or if you're going to convert that to radian, divide by 180, that's 0.98. So that's how you're going to find the value using the calculator. Now we're going to solve equations. And these are simple equations, so we're going to solve for the value of these equations. So first one, so number one, it's sine x is equal to 1. We're going to look for x. So what angle would give us 1? So if you're going to use the table, it's pi over 2. However, it's not just, again, x is equal to pi over 2. If you're going to take a look at on it, if you're going to remember the graph of sine, it's like this. So babalik yan siya sa 1. So what you're going to do is not just simple like this. You're not just going to simply write pi over 2. Instead, you're going to add the period. So the period of sine is 2 pi. So instead of writing just pi over 2, you're going to write 2 pi, put k in here, 2k pi, so that it will not just going to end at pi. Instead, it will just going to continue until infinity. So the answer is pi over 2 plus 2k pi, because 2 pi is the period. So next one, so 1 plus cosine theta tangent theta minus 1 is equal to 0. Quantity tangent theta minus 1 is equal to 0. So because they are factors, so you could equate them to 0. Each factor equate to 0. Cosine theta is equal to 0. Tan theta minus 1 is equal to 0. In this one, cosine theta, if you're going to transpose this, it will become negative 1, or addition property of equality, minus 1 minus 1. So in this side, tan theta is equal to, transpose this one, or addition property of equality. Kung transpose, ang negative 1 magiging positive 1. So cosine theta is equal to negative 1. So anong theta ang mag-result sa negative 1? So in here, cosine. So cosine theta, negative 1, it's pi. And pi, so theta is equal to pi plus 2k pi, because the period of cosine is 2 pi. So lagyan nyo lang ng k sa gitna, sa 2k pi. So next one, for the tangent, tangent is equal to 1. So tangent 1, it's pi over 4. So theta is equal to pi over 4 plus, because the period of tangent is only pi, so therefore you're just going to write k pi. K pi, this is constant, it could be 1, 2, 3, and this is only an element of integers, positive integers. It could also be negative integers pala. So k is an element of integers. So other than that, actually you could use also the calculator. If this is tan theta is equal to 1, ibig sabihin that's equal to, theta is equal to arc tan of 1. So let's try using the calculator if we're going to get the answer. So arctan, we know that arctan is also equal to tan to negative 1 of 1. So tan to the negative 1 of 1, that's 45, which is 45 is, if you're going to convert this to radian with the pi, so it will become 445 rather, divided by 180. 45 divided by 180, that's 1/4. So 1/4 pi, or pi over 4. Let's see if that is our answer. So pi over 4, pi over 4. So we could also use the calculators in solving. So let's use the calculator in number 3. So in number 3, that's 2 sine x plus 2 is equal to 0. So transpose the 2 will become negative 2. Next, kailangan na sin x lang dito sa kabila. So we're going to need to get the 2. How are we going to get the 2? So we'll divide both sides by 2. If you're going to divide both sides by 2, ang matira na lang, you're going to cancel it, ang matira na lang sin x is equal to negative 2 divided by 2, it's negative 1. So x arc sine of negative 1. So arc sine of negative 1, that's negative 90. So x is equal to negative 90, or in radian, that's equal to pi over 2, negative pi over 2, plus we know that the period of sine is 2 pi, so plus 2k pi. So this is the answer. Number 4. Number 4 is sine theta cosine theta. So this is again just like this one. So ang sine theta equated to 1. No, that's not the answer. Pala, sorry. So sorry, we used this wrong formula. So we copied the wrong equation pala. So sine theta cosine theta is equal to 0. So equated to 0, cosine theta equate to 0. So theta is equal to sine to the negative 1 of 0, which is sine to the negative 1 of 0 is 0. So 0 plus 2k pi, because the period of sine is 2k pi. Next, theta is equal to arc sine of 0. So what is the arc sine of arc cos? Arc cosine? Sorry. Arc cosine of 0. It's 90. So 90 is pi over 2, because pi is 180. So pi over 2 is 90. So 90 plus 2k pi, because the period is 2 pi of cosine. So that's how we're going to solve for equations, or trigonometric equations. So that's it. Thank you very much.